Did you know that there's a way to cruise for under $100 per day? This is one of our favorite ways to cruise, and what we want to share with you in this video is how you can do just that and why repositioning cruises should definitely be on your radar for 2025 and 2026. Hey, I'm Mark,
And I'm Monica.
and we're currently traveling the world full time, and we use these exact cruises to get ourselves around the world.
Repositioning cruises are a fantastic way to go from one continent to another.
In fact, as you can see on this screen, there's incredible deals available. I went ahead and looked at the time of recording this video, some of the best deals available if you were to book an inside cabin for two people. And this includes your cruise, your port fees, your taxes, your gratuities, and your standard inclusions. Also, remember, it's your transportation from one continent to the next. And you can see you can do that for as low as $127 a night. If you take out the tips, the gratuities, is actually under $100 a night, but I always like to make sure that I include those. Look at Celebrity, a really nice cruise line starting at $159 per night. Royal Caribbean, pretty much the same price. Even if you jump up to Azamara, which is more luxurious cruising, still $252 per night. And you see a number of other the major cruise lines there. Perhaps you want a balcony cabin. You don't want the inside cabin. You want a window. You want some sunlight. You want to be able to walk out and see the ocean. It's not that much more, still well under $200 in many cases. I mean, what's the lowest one on here is Princess at about $161 per night for two people. And that really is inclusive. Yes, you absolutely can. You probably will spend more than this if you start to add other things on, such as specialty restaurants, maybe Wi-Fi, excursions. But it's really good to know that you can do it really as low as this rate. It's not always going to be the brand new ships in their fleets. These are starting prices, but it just shows you what is possible. And think about what you've paid for a hotel room recently. And then add on top of that your transportation, your entertainment, all of your food, right? Your tips on top of that. I guarantee you've been nowhere close to this price. And that's why repositioning cruises are so, so special.
And if you want to do some of the newer ships, a lot of them do reposition anyway. So that will be probably the cheapest way you'll be able to do one of those brand new ships.
It's an amazing hack. The brand new ships, they're super expensive initially. You have to usually wait a few years. But the little secret hack is take a repositioning cruise on that ship, and you probably can save about 50% over what you would typically cost. And even my solo travelers out there are great deals for you as well, as you can see. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of digging, but if they're going to offer deals for solo travelers, it's going to be on these repositioning cruises. You may be wondering, what exactly is a repositioning cruise?
Essentially, every year, twice a year, move from one part of the world to another for the next season. So you typically see in the spring transatlantic cruises from the US to Europe. And at the same time, you'll also see from Asia, the ships moving back to North America. And then in the fall, you come back from Europe to the US. And then in Asia, in the fall, you would go from North America to Asia.
There are a lot more sailings going to Europe and back than there are from the West Coast to Asia and back, but there are opportunities in both, and the deals can be just as exciting in either direction. There are also some other special repositioning cruises out there. We, in fact, took one time on Virgin from Singapore all the way down to Australia because they were starting service in Australia and they were moving their ship. There are other optional opportunities as well, not just these, but the bulk of the repositioning cruises will be the transatlantics. Next will be the transpacifics, and then some of these specialty repositioning. But every single time I've seen one of those, it's always at a great deal. And then once in a while, I've also seen ships having to move because they need to go to dry dock, which means they need some changes, some updates, some repairs, refurbishment. Sometimes you can actually get on the ship after the refurbishment. Royal Caribbean had one on Adventure of the Seas where they were doing a refurbishment, sent the ship to Europe, and you could actually sail back from Europe back to the US with all the brand new shiny stuff. Again, the pricing, because it's such an unusual sailing, is going to be incredible value. There are some other really nice things about a repositioning cruise. Most of them will have some really nice itineraries, meaning you will stop at some ports. In fact, we recently came back from Rome to the US, and I think we had 5 different stops along the way. We had Spain, we had Portuguese island, we had a full cruise with multiple stops, and then we had a number of sea days. Sometimes it's only 2 or 3, but sometimes it's 4 or 5.
One characteristic with repositioning cruises can save you a lot of money, but if you're in a hurry, they really don't apply to you. The key is to have the time for the repositioning cruise. It's a vacation in itself and transportation. They'll typically be around 2 weeks or so.
Keep in mind, you're going to have a flight one direction, either at the start of the cruise or at the end. And you do want to factor in the cost of that. Now, we would always use points for that. We have videos and we'll link those down below in the description. And we'll show you how we use points to almost always get a business class flight on any long haul that we take. And normally we're spending, under $100 per person on those flights with these travel hacks. So that's what I would recommend. Imagine business class one way, an amazing cruise the other way. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. And the key is having a really good travel rewards card. We can put information about that down below.
You definitely want to check the itinerary because it's not going to be 14 days with 14 stops by any means. Typically, I'd say sea days, like 5 to 7 sea days. On the Trans-Pacifics, even longer than that. Let's talk a little bit about the days at sea. There are some things you need to be aware of. And rough seas, we've had the glassiest, perfect sailings before. I think those tend to happen really more likely in the spring. So when we're going, for instance, from the US to Europe, no guarantee, but it just tends to be a lot easier of a sailing. On the way back in the fall, sometimes you can have some rough seas. Our last cruise was great, except for we did have about a day and a half where it was pretty choppy. So you want to prepare for that if you have any motion sensitivity. I do. So I always take meclizine every day and I do fine, but you need to go ahead and just prepare for that. Wi-Fi these days, it's pretty great. It's just not inexpensive. Check if your ship uses Starlink, and then you know you're going to have pretty good data throughout. But unless it's included, like Virgin includes some basic standard Wi-Fi, and some of the cruise lines do at times, it's going to be expensive, but you absolutely can stay connected. We work remotely when we're on these ships doing transatlantics, and we don't have too many problems with it at all. Of course, one of the big things is, and we talk to people about how we do these transatlantics, and on occasion when we talk to people, they go, I don't know what I would do for 5, 6, 7, 8 days. So that's an issue maybe for you. We love it.
We've taken at least 5 repositioning cruises and one with 16 straight sea days and almost 50 cruises.
That was
I don't
that was
think
unintentional, the
it was
16 straight sea days, because something else happened in the world back in 2020. But
yeah, but yes, still, we didn't get bored. I don't think I've ever been bored a single hour at sea. There's always so much to do on the ships.
by the way, if you want to unlock a lot more secrets, ways to save a lot of money no matter what your budget is when you travel, I put a link on the screen. Go to this link or use the QR code with your phone. It'll jump right to the page and you'll be able to download our guide where we show you all the ways that we have saved literally tens of thousands of dollars per year in our travel. So we share with you all of what we really consider our best secrets, our best tips, our best hacks. And no matter what budget level you travel at, you can put these to use right away. And if you wouldn't mind, give this video a thumbs up. That helps a lot. And even more so, subscribe to the channel so you get notified of all the upcoming videos that we have, including we do a lot of deals videos where we share with you exact specific deals that you can book on these type of sailings and other sailings as well.
Let's talk about the costs. What you'll assume and probably rewrite about is the higher the luxury ship, the newer the ship, the higher the cost will be. Mid-range ships less so, and then the older ship offers the best deals.
If you want the best hack, go for an older ship. You're going to have by far, usually the cheapest per day is what you're going to find. They're just going to be, they've been out there longer, so they a little bit less demand. But it's kind of nice because again, this is something you can choose, what style you want to sail in. You're almost always a really good deal because you're doing repositioning, which the ships have to work a little bit harder to fill those up. As you can imagine, also, these ships, if you like this, are going to have less children on board. Most of them are not kid-free, other than like Azamara will mostly be child-free. Virgin voyages will have no kids.
Adults only.
Yeah, adults only. Viking as well. But most of the others, you're not going to find very many kids on board. They just typically don't sail on transatlantics and transpacifics. You might find a couple dozen.
And one more thing I'll say is a repositioning cruise any different than a regular cruise? And the answer is no. I mean, it's still the same service, the same entertainment, all those things are all the same. It just is a better deal because they're doing a longer cruise that's transiting to another part of the world.
Yeah, we get asked that quite a bit actually from people when we tell them that we do these. They say, oh, but maybe everything's closed. It's not the case at all. Just be aware you're going to spend time in your cabin, more so on a repositioning cruise. It's just you're going to be at sea more. That you may not want to be in an inside cabin. You may want that nice balcony. It's a good opportunity to do that. And just also realize location matters. If you're somebody who is sensitive to the movement of the ocean, I always suggest a middle of the ship. Lower down cabin is going to be a lot smarter. It's going to move a lot less than almost anywhere else. You may prefer a balcony for that reason instead of an inside cabin. You can many times get the best deals overall with a guaranteed cabin. All that means is you can't pick your specific cabin. So if you're motion sensitive, or you're worried about where you may end up, just don't pick that. Spend a little bit more money and know your cabin in advance. We actually haven't ever picked a guaranteed cabin, but Monica doesn't even know this. We have a booking coming up where I rolled the dice and the savings were so significant, we're doing a guaranteed cabin.
Ooh, always
So
an adventure.
always. So we'll see what we get. It was really worth the savings to take the chance. A lot of times we go ahead and I think we booked a balcony almost every single time. And it's probably for us a bit of a waste of money because every time I'm on the balcony, I always see like dolphins, I've seen whales. Monica steps on, and apparently she doesn't believe that sea life exists.
On the cooler, yeah. I always think if I stare at the ocean long enough, I'll see something like a whale or dolphins, but I never see anything. But I'm glad you do.
One of us gets some value out of the balcony cabin anyway. We did mention you got to embrace the sea days. If you don't embrace them, if you're not optimistic about them and looking forward to them, then they might be long. For us, it's never been long. We can't believe how quick the sea days go. But yes, we do some work when we're on board as well, but there's plenty of other things. If you go on a bigger ship, there's a lot more activities. There's going to be almost always be a great gym, a pool, maybe an indoor pool if it's cold.
Cruise lines will also have more activities for sea days than it
So
would normally have for a port day anyway. So there will be no shortage of things to do. I don't think I've ever been bored a single hour on any cruise ship. So there's lots to do from the spa to the gym to breakfast, lunch, dinner, having drinks, listening to music, doing the Sudoku, doing
you can,
classes,
you can do trivia. There's lots of trivia. I find out how much I don't know.
cooking classes. Yeah, there's plenty to do. Being on one of these repo cruises, you'll see the same people over and over again. In addition to meeting people on board, there's fun ways to connect with other passengers. We've noticed the last few years that if you look on Facebook, that you might find a group for your specific sailing. So if you put in your cruise line, like a celebrity and then the date of the cruise, often you will find a group that was created by another passenger for that specific sailing, and you can meet people.
Sometimes people will go ahead and they'll decide to do group shore excursion to save some money.
Mhm.
So you'll definitely learn some things too. You can be social or antisocial. It doesn't matter. It's your choice on a cruise, but it's nice to know that's available to you. Another thing is make sure that you plan for your port days. I will remind you that as soon as you book, the cruise lines will start to promote to you their upgrades and their upsells, which it can get a little annoying, but the good news is at least you'll almost always get a pretty good deal on those. So if you do want to go ahead and add things like Wi-Fi or a specialty restaurant or shore excursions or some other package or spa, you might want to do that in advance. And don't think it's going to go away, this special deal. You get the same deals over and over again with just a different subject, a different holiday that they're celebrating. They always stay the same. Typically, if you don't want to go ahead and pay for it too far in advance, let's say the cruise is not for another year and a half, trust me, in 6 more months, you'll still have the opportunity to save quite a bit. The savings are from usually like 15% to 40 or 50%. So it is worth it. However, shore excursions can be really expensive and they're not always very good. So be very picky about your cruise ship shore excursions. Look on your own for other independent excursions and use AI, ChatGPT, and other tools to really plan your perfect day and save a ton of money. We'll put some links down below where we show you how to go ahead and find other excursions through companies like Get Your Guide, Viator, or even do it independently and just use AI to go ahead and help you plan the perfect day. So we've got some great videos on that.
We've done maybe 5 repositioning cruises, but we typically like to stick with the larger ships for those. The smaller ships tend to move a little bit more, so we just love the stability of a larger ship.
And the other thing is you'll have more to do, right? If it has a larger ship, it's just going to have more public spaces, so more restaurants, more variation,
Mm.
more entertainment, maybe a casino, whatever you're interested in. If you're even worried at all about being bored, go ahead and pick one of the larger ships because they'll have all kinds of sometimes crazy activities that you can do. And you won't be fighting with kids online to go ahead and do that crazy water slide or to do the skydiving or do the bumper cars. So it might be your opportunity to act and be like a kid without having to compete with a whole bunch of people that are half your size. In order to find the best deals, I shared with you some amazing deals at the beginning of the video. My advice is always book early. You're going to have the best cabin availability, almost always the best discounts. Look, if the fare goes down before your final payment, you almost always can get the cruise line to match that. You haven't made your final payment yet. They know you can cancel. However, once you make your final payment, that option goes away. So just be aware of that. Recheck a few times to see if the fare has gone down. Most of the time it won't. But look, if they're having trouble filling it, they may have a better deal. You can rebook and get that better deal. At the same time, there are last minute deals. As I was looking here today, there are some transatlantics coming up just a couple months from when I'm looking at this. And I saw some amazing deals, not on a lot of ships, not a lot of choices, but a few specific ships and itineraries. Amazing. So Last minute as possible as well. You'll just have a lot fewer choices available. All right, so the last thing to do is
Book your cruise.
book your cruise. Start doing some research, have some fun. These are an amazing way to get from one destination to the other without all of the jet lag, without being crammed in a tiny airline seat, at least one direction, and do it in style the entire way. Do us a favor, give a like to the video, subscribe to the channel. Go ahead, there's a link in the description as well to download our hacks, our best hacks. Grab that download as well. Highly recommend that. And with that, we will see you out there.